What's up, folks? I'm going to do another real quick video just to talk quickly about the Octarius War. It's our introduction of the super heavy cards to Warhammer combat cards. This is a fun campaign. A couple things real quick about the modifiers. It gives you 400 deck points and 8 bodyguards. So if you haven't unlocked your max bodyguards, you get max bodyguards. And I do want to go ahead and highlight that 400 deck points is significantly more than the usual max. So you can cram just about everything into this deck. And then Cut Off the Head is actually my personal favorite modifier, where the highest cost card on each side, if it's killed any bodyguards on the player's side who killed it, they get a significant permanent damage buff to all of their attack stats. So your target acquired is really good here, your taunts are really good here, things that will pull heat off of your expensive cards, but then also will let you kind of target enemy expensive cards. You can build that up and really get wild with it. So Snickrod is a natural choice in this one, but he's not the one I'm running yet, and I'll talk about that in a second. Just to talk about it too, this campaign includes the introduction of a new card up for sale now, and that is your Gork's Foot, which is a pretty wild thing you've probably seen now. It's 115 points, but for that you get this insane monstrosity that compares very favorably with a lot of the other nastier cards in the Orc collection. You can end up running this, and I think we will see it in competitive ladder play, just because it's got 500 hit points. If you build some like cheaper Fear and Shield cards around it, this thing would be utterly monstrous in a bad rec deck. So I'm not looking forward to seeing those rolling out there. And in a Snickrot deck, that barrage, especially with Big Game Hunter, is going to be devastating. So it's going to take up basically your entire deck. Warlord plus this, you'll have only a handful of points still to spend. But for the damage and durability you get, it could be absolutely worth it. And we just looked at those max stats just to compare that to your Mad Mangler. Ends up around here. So this actually has a little bit higher range stat, very close damage, and significantly lower cost, much lower melee. Does not have Big Game Hunter. But otherwise, that Precision Shot with Barrage, that combination is bonkers. Still an extremely powerful card. Probably going to see more play because of the combination of cost and then also with that Precision Shot. But still, we will probably see both come up. Then to jump back to the campaign, I've pulled a couple of charges on this. This is our current free campaign card. You can see mine's pretty high level, and I need a lot of copies to get to the next level, which is a melee buff, which I'm not terribly excited about. So I'm getting them. There's no sense in leaving free cards on the table, but eh. That said, whenever I start one of these campaigns, they start off relatively slowly, so I do like to just kind of mess around and ideally squeeze something in that's a max bonus. So right now I've got Gazgul in there, and you can do with this deck a full-on max bonus and only leave a couple points on the table. I think with a couple points it's 74. But again, early in the campaign it starts off pretty light, so that's not really a problem. Your other one is going to be Zagstruck, who can do a roughly max deck. With this one I pulled out some of the bonus cards and put in some that actually fill up the bonus. Did want to highlight this guy. This is a great card to include in here because it's going to be your most expensive card. Probably, excuse me there. And having shields makes it a lot tougher to remove. So it's a great fortress to kind of use the modifier of this campaign without worrying about giving too many points away there. You do want to be careful to make sure that your other 50 and 60 and 47 and 50 point cards aren't on the table before that, because it's easy to forget and be like, well, I have a more expensive card in the deck, of course this thing won't do it, and then accidentally give up a bonus to your AI opponent. Another one who's particularly good in this campaign is going to be Mozrog. And let's see, that's probably loading. I'm actually going to go ahead and see what kind of Mozrog deck we can build any second now. Maybe. Okay, we'll come back to that. The reason I'm thinking about Mozrog is he really loves having big beefy melee pieces in a deck, and that healing is really great, and so he'd be terrific for this. Weird. Okay, well, see if I can deploy. Well, I guess we're playing Zagstruck. No, there we go. Okay. And my internet connection is off. Let's reconnect that. Luckily, these embarrassing. But the stream is unaffected, so we'll jump right back in there. There we go. Alright, let's try that again. So I'm going to see what I can do with Mazrog. Just for fun. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. And this isn't going to be a high bonus deck just because most of the cards I want to throw in here don't have high bonus. I want to do heavy melee. Cards that attack on drop. I love doing this thing in here. Oh, thing of beauty. And it's pretty hilarious. 400 points is so much. I'm going to end up using it here, but oof, love it. I'm going to swap that out just for a little bit of the bonus here. I would absolutely love to be able to include this guy, but mine is only level 3 and level 2, excuse me. Not very impressive at level 2. Builds up quickly, but we're not touching him yet. All of those other ones up there, pretty scary. So we have 33 points left. Let's throw another bonus in there. Love it. And of course, if you have 4 points left, you got to bring the Greatest Grot. The Greatest Grot himself, who also gives me a bonus. Let's do it. I'm only going to play maybe one, maybe 2 games of this, just to kind of show it off, because again, it's fairly early in the campaign, so the battles I'm seeing at this point are not very challenging. Because the opposing decks have not been full to the 400 yet, but I know they will be, and we're going to see the Harridan kind of near the edge there. Harridan? The Tyranids super heavy. I'm also hitting this one fairly hard because Orcs and Tyranids are 2 of my favorite factions, and I'm pretty close to leveling up several of the cards that are particular favorites of mine. This guy right here is sitting on, I think, 3 copies, and I'm expecting to get those easily for this because he's common, which is great. I love having common cards that are really useful. Since we had the meta shakeup, we're seeing a lot more epic and legendary cards, which are really good, but it's still important to note the importance of commons and rares, especially commons, because they're very, very easy to level, and some of the best cards in the game are still epics or commons and rares. So you're still going to see them, they're still going to make an impact. When you get your legendaries and epics, of course, roll with it, but don't discount the other ones. Especially in a meta, if other players are, they won't be expecting or building decks to prepare for some of the stuff you can throw at them at the lower price points. Or lower rarities, I suppose. So we're seeing that effect in action. We're seeing these, every time I do a melee attack, my cards heal a little bit. Sweet. So I get target acquired on not my most expensive one. Awesome. I am up against the Swarmlord, so I'm getting that melee debuff every time I do it, but I'm building up damage so aggressively it shouldn't matter. One thing I love about Mazrog is those Berserk cards just build up so much attack because they're just constantly healing and also building up that Berserk. Oh, perfect. Poison rank 2. This is what I'm talking about. So in my last video I kind of trash-talked Kyria Draxus, the Servants of the Emperor card, who can now max out at poison rank 2, which is just not good. You're going to see right here, it's just Berserk bait. You throw that against a Berserk card, and the Berserk card is going to just smack you in the face and then become an unstoppable monstrosity, especially in a Mazrog deck. Watch me say that and then lose my squig off. Well, that's right. So we're just about at the end here, and this is just one match. I'm going to go ahead and do one more with a different deck, but I wanted to play around with this. I just absolutely love using Mazrog, and getting to see him at this just fully realized level is very satisfying. And that, I think I've talked about that. I really like the modifiers that let you just run an absurdly huge decks, just so you could throw everything in there and see what happens. And also, I do expect this some bad luck and some scary opponents and actually hitting higher level decks. I do think that this campaign is going to get quite challenging at the end. And even now, it's already going to be challenging for newer players because it does rely on your collection, the actual card levels of your cards. So it's definitely not just a free victory for everyone. So with that, I'm actually going to revisit that Ghazghkull deck for the second game, and then I might also do the Zagstruck deck because both of those are warlords that really reward skillful play regardless of card level. So we're going to start, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and start with the Zagstruck deck. Snickrot, I think, is going to be relatively easy to figure out. His ability is he does double damage when a card hits something that's not directly in front of it. So Barrage, target acquired, Precision Shot, and Furious Charge are really good too, because you can clear a wounded card in front of you, and then use your attack will actually hit one of the adjacent cards. So you can get those double damage bonuses and just be very scary. And if you can pull those off against expensive cards in your opponent's table, you get that priority target spotted or whatever or cut off the head, the modifier that I really like. Sorry, I literally just read that. I should definitely remember the name of the modifier I read like 5 minutes ago. Any second now. Be a bummer if this time's out. We'll see. And this, I really don't have this much trouble with network issues. I'm on my computer kind of in an awkward side of the house with all the doors in between closed just to be respectful of my family in the evening, so the Wi-Fi is heavily blocked. And that's my fault. Yeah, it worked out. Okay. So try to blaze through this game and not be too slow here, because I know this video is getting a little bit long. We'll leave that front. Ooh, Zemont. This is going to be a tougher matchup than the last one, and I really hope it's not that slow of a game. If it ends up being really, really slow, I may stop the recording in the middle, because I don't want you to have to sit through that whole thing. But we'll see. It is not so far promising. Another case of the early rounds being fairly easy. Zemont's ability applies to ranged attacks, where the first time a card shoots, it does an extra, I think, 75%. Yeah. Just shy of double damage, and I'm looking at no ranged cards across the board here, so not scared of that. And they have different attack types. This guy doesn't have a melee attack, this guy doesn't have psychic, so even with target acquired, no, that's a little scarier. But he's still going to hit target acquired against my shielded card, and I will go first. Now just to go ahead and recap Zagstruck's ability. If a card activates, that's if it has a ready ability when it deploys, or if you use an attack type that it doesn't have, for example Psychic, then that card will attack for its full melee stat instead. And that's full melee stat. It's one of the only abilities where you get a quote-unquote free attack with a card where it attacks with its full attack value. And you can see that purple halo in this guy. It used target acquired, but hasn't actually done its ranged shot yet. So it's still got that supercharged range shot that's about to hit me here. And then we'll see if that... Nope. Okay, cool. That's a gimme. Having non-ranged cards in the Zemont deck definitely makes you a lot safer. And he's probably still going to... Yeah, he's still going to use the ranged attack because I've got a lot more melee showing than he does. The AI will usually act conservatively, only using an attack stat that you hit harder in if it has the option to remove a couple of your cards or win the game. It will take those killing shots, and it will finish off your cards if it's got enough of a bonus built up. So you want to keep an eye on that, because it'll be like, oh, the AI is going to do Psychic, of course. And then sometimes it doesn't. So in this case, though, I could comfortably guess that it wasn't going to do a melee attack just because I have so much more melee on the board. Excuse me. And on this one, I am going to do Psychic, because I can do a Psychic. None of these guys have Psychic, and instead of readying, they will attack. I've still got shields on my thingamybopper, Goldaka, so I don't need to worry about dying from the Psychic return fire. And again, the bonus stack is 100% of attack value, so as your cards get that attack bonus, they will then hit even harder with Zagstruck's ability. The magnificent thing about Zagstruck is against most decks, you can use his ability, get the free attacks without taking return hits. Where if I was doing melee or ranged, I'd be taking a lot more shots back than doing Psychic. The downside is when you hit a main Psychic deck, you kind of have to wail on it normally without using Zagstruck's ability. And that does make it a little bit less useful, but this is going to be fun. I should, with this bonus, have enough for Black Dread. Black Def. Yeah. Black Def, Def Dread. Yeah. To take him out. Yeah, okay. So we're going to get this guy on the left out again and get the melee buffs on all these cards. I haven't lost a card yet, unsurprisingly. but that also means that all my cards are going to be very scary. But we'll see what level Zeemut is, because she has target acquired on her own card. So if she's rank 4 or higher, I think. She is level 4, so she definitely has target acquired. So all 3 of the surviving bodyguards are going to go for my doohickey here, Goldaka. Okay, so not a range card, that's good. And Isaka now, not a range card, okay, so I don't have to worry about it. Zeemut herself is going to shoot me, but then I should comfortably mop this up in the following shot. If she did have some scary bodyguards that did heavy ranged attacks, of course, and was able to kill Goldaka, that would make this a much closer fight. But I've still got 6 cards in the deck, I'm not worried about it. And doesn't even want to shoot me. I see why, because these guys have seriously beefed up ranged attacks. Why did I do that? I should have just done Psychic, because I did not have to take any damage back, but that's okay. Rookie move. But if you really want to compete in this, your cards are not terribly high level. Zagstruck should give you the edge to really win some matches you otherwise shouldn't, isn't the right word, but it would otherwise be extremely uphill battles. The option to use your readies and psychic attacks to get attacks without getting hit back is really powerful, especially if you just kind of position correctly, and as you start getting those damage bonuses from taking out those top ranked cards. We're going to do one more. We'll see if this will go a little bit faster, just to show off my max bonus deck. Show off being a funny word, considering it's just leaving 70 points on the table. This is all of the most expensive cards that actually do bonuses. I don't have Gork's Foot, I didn't buy it, and Mad Mangler doesn't get the bonus, so that's interesting. I am seeing a lot of Parasite decks, which is good and bad. It's good because it's, in theory, one of the weakest Tyranid Warlords, which I don't necessarily know these days. But it's bad because I do have a lot of high hit point cards. If we start seeing really high leveled Parasite decks, they're going to become a real problem in this. Because if they are able to actually take down your bigger, beefier cards, they will then start doing the explosion, where if a card is infected and then dies, it does 40%, was it 40%? Yeah, 40% of its base wounds to your friendly cards next to it. So if you start putting really big stuff in these decks and they start getting taken down by Parasite, you're going to get some unexpected and unwelcome board wipes. And then opposing cards are going to get some damage buffs, so you want to avoid that. This deck has a nice balance of ranged and melee. I usually do, or it's pretty common to see really heavily ranged damage attacks with Ghazghkull decks, so that they can get a bunch of kills, but then also charge up your melee attack for when Ghazghkull deploys. This guy's doing a lot of melee debuff anyway, so that wouldn't help me, but he also doesn't have any ranged attacks on the table, so it's pretty easy to just shoot him. This game is going much more quickly, which is great. I'll wrap this up and then let y'all go, and hopefully this was helpful. I'm assuming once we get to the later rounds, we're going to see the Harridan. Ooh, that's a little worrisome. And this is what I was talking about. I still have the full deck. This should be no problem, especially because Ghazghkull over here gets a bonus plus 10 melee damage every time I get a kill. Has that Furious Charge and Inspire, so he just lands for crazy amounts of damage on the board. So even if I end up kind of taking a turn for the worse here, I should have no trouble finishing this off. 1 second. Alright, where were we? Let's wrap this up. Still has 2 cards left to play. I double checked that because the Warlord always goes in the middle and is going to move that wounded card out of the way, so I wanted to make sure that I had the shot lined up. Man, I've managed to go through this whole round without getting a damage bonus on any of these cards. Excuse me. Oh man, that's terrible etiquette. You never want to do that into a mic. It's the best possible volume for catching that burp. Sorry about that, folks. Alright, easy mop up. And this is a fun one to kind of check in on. These are longer, bigger games, so you can see Ghazghkull get up to just like insane volumes of damage. I think so far the highest I've hit was 240. Just because I had a bunch of endless cards and it was a Tervigon, so we had a bunch of those Tervigon free cards popping up and just feeding him the damage. Expect to see that go up late game too. But the big reason I'm running that is because it's max bonus. It's still going to do just fine. I will, when it gets a little bit tougher, probably lean... you know what? I don't know who I'm going to run. With that Mozrog deck was a lot of fun. I may go that route later on just to see, and if that doesn't really perform, I'll probably go with Snickrot, because I do think Snickrot is going to be your most powerful. Throw your big barrage hitters in there and your target acquireds, get some of those damage bonuses, and then those barrage cards will become truly unstoppable. Especially your squig buggies and your bigger, beefier ones. Throw a little Medicae in there, as fits, whatever. And I think that will be tremendously powerful. That is it. Good luck in the Octarius War. We've got 2 whole days to go, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. Until next time.